Hey, this is Dave from Stencil. You just got your stencil in the mail and you're really excited to paint it, and so am I. Let's see what's inside. Looks like we got a little extra stencil from Stencil. And what's this? Looks like a 2-layer Barbie stencil. Another cool little extra. That's for this week. And it looks like today we're gonna paint a 4-panel, 4-layer stencil of Sid Vicious, lead singer of the Sex Pistols. Cool. One of the things in the kit is this key sheet, which tells us what color to paint each layer of the stencil. Now, we're going to paint on that white canvas over there, so we don't actually need the white layer. We're going to leave it out this time through. But we will need 2 grays and a black. So we've got a light gray and a medium to dark gray, and a black. So we're all set. It'll be helpful to have a latex glove so that you can keep your hands clean, some masking tape to keep the stencil flush against the surface, and I'm not your mom, but I think this is probably a pretty good idea, and it's probably a pretty good idea to be in a well-ventilated space like this. The last thing I like to have is a paintbrush. But basically any stick will do. You just hold the stencil against the surface so that as you're painting, you don't get any paint underneath the stencil. So we've got all these stencils, and see, because we've got 4 panels per layer, this looks like it's going to be like the upper left panel of his head. And if I look at this carefully, maybe you want to look a little carefully here, I see layer 2, panel A1. Okay, so panel A1 means, A means row A, 1 means column 1. So A1 means upper left panel. So because I'm a visual person, I'm just gonna say 2, and A1 for me is gonna be upper left. That's how I'm gonna remember where this one goes. When we ship your extra large stencils, they're rolled up in a tube, and so when you want to use them, you might find that you want to flatten them for a day between 2 heavy flat objects like this. Now, you can go ahead and use your stencil right away if you want to. You just might want to use a little bit of tacking spray to hold the edges down. Okay, so our plan is to paint this image on this canvas, and that's really only going to work right if the aspect ratio of this image is similar to this canvas. Otherwise, if we tried to paint a square on this canvas, it would look really interesting or odd. But this is specifically designed to match the aspect ratio of this canvas, so we should be okay here. So let's measure the canvas here so that we can find the center point and figure out where our first panel is going to go. Okay, that's 39 inches by 51 inches. Half of 39 is 19 and a half. So I need to mark this right here. And half of 51 is 25 and a half. Okay, so right here, these are like a crosshair, and the center of the image should be in this crosshair, in these crosshairs. It doesn't have to be so exact or so close, but basically the center should be tuk, tuk, right there. Good. Okay, I like to paint about 8 to 12 inches away from the canvas, and I want to press the button down firmly and just keep the can moving all the time so I don't get a buildup of spray either on the stencil or on the canvas. The last thing is I want to hold my can as vertical as possible, because if you try to paint like this, then you're just going to end up with a clogged jet, and that wouldn't do. We're going to do all the panels in this quadrant first, so that as we finish these, we can erase these registration marks and continue painting. Because we're going to actually be using some tape to hold the stencil here, I want to make sure this is really dry before we go any further. Okay, so as you tape your stencils down or hold the stencils in place, this is actually a pretty flexible surface, this canvas is, and we've noticed that if you push too hard while you're holding this in, then when you let it go, the canvas warps a little bit, and that causes the stencil to lay less flat. So if you're working with a flexible surface like this, just use a light touch when you put your tape or your adhesive down so that your stencil lies perfectly flat. Hey, so I'm going to show you a little trick for fixing these seams in the painting here. I'm going to take some paint in this paint can and just put it into a cap. And use an ordinary brush to fix that up. And while I'm here with my new color, I'm going to get not just the seams, but some of the bridges too, because the bridges in the dark areas are really noticeable here. Hey, so as we were painting that stencil, you notice how sometimes the bridges really grabbed our attention, and although we painted to cover the bridges, it would be nicer if we didn't have to do that. So some of these bridges aren't necessary totally to be here. So especially in this case right here, you see this piece is holding this piece on. So we don't need this one right here. I'm just gonna take it out. So the next time I paint, I'm not gonna have to worry about covering that bridge after I'm done. It's gonna make the whole stencil look a little bit cleaner and easier to use. Hey, so now that I've painted this one time as a test run, I'm pretty confident that I could reproduce this image on any flat surface. So, happy painting. If you don't find everything you need, just reach out to me and let me know. And this is Dave signing off from Stencil.